Imagine soaring above the clouds, gazing down at the delicate blue curve of our planet, utterly weightless for a handful of unforgettable minutes. For generations, this was a fantasy reserved for the rarest of adventurers, career astronauts, rigorously trained, handpicked from thousands, and often spending years preparing for a single chance to slip the bonds of gravity. But now, as Blue Origin's gleaming rockets pierce the vast Texas sky, a new chapter is opening in the story of human exploration. Ordinary people, from a mosaic of backgrounds, are crossing the final frontier. Yet with every launch, a question grows ever louder. Are we witnessing the birth of an era where space is for everyone, or is this simply a new playground for the ultra-wealthy? Consider the personal stories behind the headlines. For Allie and Carl Keener, the married couple on board, the trip was more than a thrill ride. Allie, a passionate conservationist, and Carl, a real estate executive, joined a select group of families who have now experienced the wonders and the risks of space travel together. Their fellow travelers included Leland Larson, a one-time chief executive of bus companies, Freddie Rescigno Jr., owner of a cable manufacturing business, and Jim Sitkin, a retired labor attorney. Perhaps most notably, the manifest included Owolabi Salas, an attorney and financial consultant with a complicated professional history, having faced legal challenges and disbarment. This diversity, both in career and character, hints at how space is beginning to open its doors, even if only slightly, to a broader slice of humanity than ever before. Yet despite these inspiring stories and the palpable excitement, the reality is far from democratic. As Blue Origin's chief executive Dave Limp explained at a recent Humans to the Moon and Mars summit, there is an insatiable demand from people who grew up dreaming of space, but it's still incredibly hard to do right now. The company has managed 5 successful New Shepard flights this year alone, including both crewed and uncrewed missions, a testament to the dedication and expertise required to operate even a single reusable rocket system. But the process is anything but simple. Every launch requires painstaking planning, rigorous safety checks, and the overcoming of unpredictable weather, a fact underscored by the scrubbed and postponed attempts leading up to this latest mission, where high winds and cloud cover delayed liftoff multiple times. And let's talk about price. Blue Origin keeps the exact cost of a ticket closely guarded, but industry insiders whisper that a single seat likely costs well over 6 figures. Some speculate between $250,000 and $500,000 United States dollars per passenger. For context, that's more than the median house price in many American cities, and easily puts a trip to the edge of space beyond the reach of all but the wealthiest individuals. To date, the only people who have flown are those with extraordinary means or those carried as guests, contest winners, or lucky invitees. The price tag alone is a stark reminder of the gulf that remains between aspiration and access. Still, the momentum is undeniable. The suborbital tourism sector has attracted billions of dollars in investment, drawing interest from both traditional aerospace giants and a dynamic new wave of private capital. According to Chad Anderson, managing partner at Space Capital, space tourism is a nascent market, but it's already drawing significant resources and attention. The real question is how quickly it can scale. He points to the rapid rise in private investment over the past 5 years, with venture capitalists and institutional investors betting that space will be the next great frontier for human activity and economic growth. First, safety. While reusable rocket technology has made giant leaps in reliability and efficiency, the fact remains that spaceflight, no matter how brief, carries very real risks. The booster and capsule must operate flawlessly. Redundancies must be in place for everything from parachutes to life support systems. Even with rigorous testing, the margin for error is slim. The fate of earlier space tourism efforts, from Virgin Galactic's tragic test flight accident in 2014 to the Challenger disaster in the 1980s, is a sobering reminder that the path to routine, safe spaceflight is paved with caution and sometimes tragedy. Every successful mission builds confidence and experience, but the shadow of past failures is never far away. Ethics form another complex layer. As Laura Forchik, founder of the space consulting firm Astralytical, cautions, the long-term value of these flights will depend on how quickly costs can come down and launch frequency goes up. Otherwise, space tourism risks becoming little more than an exclusive spectacle. If only a minuscule fraction of humanity can participate, do we risk reinforcing existing divides? Is it ethical to invest so much in luxury travel while billions on Earth face poverty, hunger, or lack of access to basic health care? Some critics argue that resources spent on space tourism could be directed to solving urgent problems here on Earth, combating disease, building infrastructure, or addressing the climate crisis. Supporters counter that the innovations and inspiration from space endeavors have a long history of fueling breakthroughs that ultimately benefit everyone, from satellite communications to medical devices developed for astronauts. Supporters, however, argue that opening space to private citizens creates a powerful ripple effect. When civilians, not just government astronauts, share their stories of awe, fragility, and interconnectedness, it can inspire a new generation to pursue science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. It can fuel innovation in materials science, robotics, and environmental monitoring. And as Blue Origin's own Audrey Powers, a former NASA flight controller who now oversees mission operations, has said, "Seeing the Earth from above gives you a renewed appreciation for our planet. It is a perspective that never really leaves you." There's another dimension to consider, the so-called overview effect. This psychological phenomenon, reported by almost every astronaut, arises from seeing the Earth as a single, fragile sphere floating in the void of space. The boundaries that divide nations and peoples seem to vanish, replaced by a sense of unity and shared responsibility. In recent years, researchers have begun studying how even brief suborbital flights can trigger this effect, potentially influencing passengers' attitudes toward environmental stewardship, global cooperation, and social responsibility. Imagine if a significant portion of humanity could experience this shift firsthand. How might that change our world? So where is all of this heading? Let's look beyond the headlines. The current intrigue in space tourism is not just about who gets to fly, but about the future it could unlock for all of us. Imagine a world where suborbital travel is as routine as a transcontinental flight, where researchers, students, teachers, and artists can access microgravity for their work, where rapid point-to-point travel across the globe is made possible by brief suborbital hops, shrinking the world and making international business, disaster response, and even family reunions faster than ever before. NASA and private companies are already studying the potential for space-based manufacturing, where the unique conditions of microgravity could produce materials and medicines impossible to make on Earth. The possibilities are vast. Experts like Robert Perlman, editor of CollectSpace.com, describe space travel as increasingly accessible, though he's quick to note that it's still far from truly democratic. Consider, only 70 people have flown on Blue Origin's new Shepard, and just 750 in all of human history have crossed into space, fewer than the number of passengers aboard a single jumbo jet. That number is dwarfed by the more than 4,000 people who have scaled Mount Everest, or the hundreds of thousands who cross the Atlantic by air each day. Even the field of ocean exploration, with its deep-sea submersibles and underwater habitats, has seen more participants than spaceflight. But the pace of change gives reason for hope. In just the past 5 years, private spaceflight has transitioned from wild fantasy to reality. Reusable rockets, which were once dismissed as science fiction, now land themselves with pinpoint accuracy. Launch costs, though still sky-high, are falling. SpaceX, Blue Origin, and Virgin Galactic have all demonstrated that private companies can play a leading role in pushing humanity farther and faster than ever before. The race to develop newer, safer, and more efficient vehicles is already driving advances in propulsion, avionics, and automation, with benefits rippling out into commercial aviation, logistics, and beyond. Yet the hurdles remain daunting. The environmental impact of frequent launches is still being debated by scientists. Even with clean-burning fuels, there is concern about the effect on the upper atmosphere, the ozone layer, and local ecosystems around launch facilities. Safety, too, is never guaranteed. Though Blue Origin boasts a strong record so far, every mission is a high-wire act, and the industry as a whole has been shaped by both triumph and tragedy. Insurance premiums for space flights remain high, reflecting the perceived level of risk. Regulatory agencies like the Federal Aviation Administration in the United States are continually updating safety standards and oversight procedures, balancing innovation with the need for public accountability. And then there is the question of access. For now, seats are limited and tickets are priced for the privileged few. But history is full of examples where technology that began as a luxury for elites became, with persistence and innovation, a staple for everyone. Consider commercial air travel. In the 1920s and 30s, only the richest could afford to fly. Today, billions of passengers take to the skies every year. The first cell phones cost as much as a small car. Now, billions carry smartphones in their pockets. Could space travel follow the same trajectory? If so, the democratization of space could be one of the most profound social shifts of the 21st century, with ripple effects across education, commerce, and culture. Industry analysts are cautiously optimistic. Laura Forchik points out that the long-term value of suborbital flights will depend on whether companies can bring down costs and dramatically increase launch frequency. Without affordability and scale, the dream of regular space travel for all remains distant. But the rapid progress of the last decade, driven by competition, technological breakthroughs, and public fascination, suggests that change may come sooner than we think. Already, new companies are emerging with plans to offer specialized missions for research, education, and even art, envisioning a space economy that extends far beyond tourism. So what does all this mean for you, sitting at home, watching from your phone or laptop? First, the breathtaking pace of innovation in space technology should inspire curiosity. Even if booking a ticket to space seems out of reach today, the breakthroughs happening in rocketry, materials, and safety are already influencing life on Earth. Reusable rockets have slashed launch costs, enabling new satellites that connect remote regions and provide internet to underserved communities. Advances in lightweight alloys and smart sensors developed for space now benefit industries from healthcare to construction. Technologies first tested in orbit, such as water purification systems, radiation shielding, and advanced medical imaging, often find their way into everyday life, improving well-being for millions. For investors and entrepreneurs, understanding these trends can help identify new opportunities. The ripple effects of space tourism extend far beyond the launch pad. They are shaping markets for advanced manufacturing, environmental monitoring, and even entertainment. As more companies enter the race, competition will likely drive further innovation, lower prices, and expand access. Think about the growing market for high-definition Earth observation data, made possible by cheaper launches, or the rise of educational programs that let students send experiments to space. The commercialization of low Earth orbit could one day support everything from pharmaceutical research to immersive virtual reality experiences based on real space missions. There's also a deeper lesson. The so-called overview effect, that sense of awe and connectedness astronauts report after seeing Earth from space, reminds us of our shared responsibility. As Blue Origin's Audrey Powers puts it, you don't have to go to space to realize the importance of protecting our only home. The awe that spaceflight inspires can motivate all of us to act more responsibly, both technologically and ethically, whether that means supporting clean energy, advocating for science education, or simply appreciating the beauty and fragility of our world. Across history, exploration has often served as a catalyst for humanitarian progress, challenging societies to broaden their perspectives and invest in the public good. Let's also consider the broader implications. As space tourism matures, it may pave the way for entirely new industries. Orbital hotels, lunar research bases, and asteroid mining, all once the stuff of science fiction, are now discussed in serious boardrooms and research labs. The lessons learned from suborbital flights will inform how we approach longer, more complex missions, how to keep passengers safe, how to recycle resources, how to build sustainable habitats beyond Earth. Already, companies are developing test beds for in-space manufacturing, closed-loop life support systems, and autonomous robotics that will be essential for future lunar or Martian settlements. But for this bold future to become reality, it will take more than just rockets. It will require responsible policy, regulations that ensure safety, protect the environment, and guarantee fair access. It will demand international cooperation, as space is a global commons, not the property of any one nation or corporation. And it will need a commitment to sustainability, so that the wonders of the cosmos don't come at the expense of our home planet. The United Nations and other organizations are already debating frameworks for sustainable development in space, aiming to balance commercial interests with the needs of science, security, and humanity as a whole. Here's a little-known fact. The number of humans who have seen space with their own eyes is still less than 1/1000th of 1% of the world's population. That's staggeringly exclusive. But every new mission, every seat filled, every story shared, writes a new chapter in the human adventure. Perhaps the next astronaut will not be a billionaire or a celebrity, but a teacher, a scientist, or even someone watching this video today. As access broadens, the diversity of voices contributing to our collective story will deepen, enriching our understanding of the universe and our place within it. So, is space travel destined to remain an elite playground, or can it become a truly accessible adventure for all? The answer for now lies somewhere in between. The technology is advancing at breakneck speed, but for space tourism to move beyond a glittering luxury for the privileged few, it will take more: persistent innovation, bold policy, and above all, a shared vision for a sustainable, inclusive future. If you want to stay ahead of the curve in global technology and economics, make sure to subscribe and tap the bell icon so you never miss a story. What do you think? Will you or someone you know ever make the leap into space? Will the next great explorer be a scientist, an artist, a teacher, or an everyday dreamer? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and let's imagine that future together. Because as we look to the stars, the real